Hey, what's up, everybody? Good evening, Thursday. Appreciate y'all being here. It's Beyond the Ramp with Cowboy Preacher. I'll just go ahead, just come on in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's still old people crap going on. So uh, we got some technical difficulties we're trying to figure out because I won't always be here at the Cabbage Shack on Thursday night, so we're trying to figure it out. Where um, when I'm at the hotel, that we can still do this. So anyway, appreciate y'all being here. The little video there was the course series combos that I have. They're on sale right now for $109.95, but Power Core Rods is a sponsor. That's me, and I'm using some of these proceeds to go to um, upgrading our technology. Um, I'm trying to figure out, but we're probably gonna have like a maybe a Cash App or something for right now. That if you want to donate something, we're going to end up trying to hire somebody to do the social media and to produce all this. And anyway, Power Core Rods, Boat Ramp 10, all caps, Boat Ramp 10, get you 10% off the course series, not the combos, but the course series. It's a way to kind of have a way to build your own without breaking the bank. Build your own rod. They're $129.95, but you get 10% off. So anything helps out. Go check it out. Um, anyway, with that said, tonight's subject is anger, and I've already gone through anger since 7 o'clock trying to figure all this out, and it could have gone one way or the other. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I just learned not to say anything.
Yeah. So to start off, um, before we bring in what some of the scripture says about it, we're going to talk about things we all deal with on a weekly, daily, yearly basis. And start off Wikipedia, the definition for anger. Um, Several terms. Anger, also known as wrath or rage, road rage,
Yeah. Yeah.
is an intense emotional state involving a strong, uncomfortable, and non cooperative response to a perceived provocation, hurt, or threat. That is just way too many big words.
That is a broad definition.
Yes. Uh, so it shows a picture, facial expression, a man having emotions of anger. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah. But the key word on that is perceived.
Perceived
Wow, that's a big
provocation.
definition.
Okay, and it also says a person experiencing anger will often experience physical effects such as increased heart rate,
Right.
elevated blood pressure, increased levels of adrenaline, and noradrenaline. I mean, we ain't going into to trying to figure words out. Some view anger as emotion that triggers part of the fight or flight response. Anger becomes predominant feeling behaviorally, cognitively, and
Psychologically.
Yes. Anyway, when a person makes the conscious choice to take action to immediately stop the threatening behavior or other outside force. Um, I mean, we could go on and on. There is a lot here. So that's the definition of it. And psychology, that one stat, there ain't a lot of stat that you can just say, hey, what's the stats on anger in the country. The only thing I saw was that survey done in 2019, I think it was, that uh, a lot of people uh, uh, say that 84 we're more 84% of Americans are more angry today than they were a generation ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like that's the only stat I really found. But psychology today talks about, and one of the quotes was from Benjamin Franklin. Whatever is begun in anger ends in shame.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, you're talking about that. You know why you have such a high, that 84%? Because part of that, and that was a big word, what we just said,
yeah,
perceived.
perceived.
And
Yeah.
everyone is now seems to perceive something that offends them now.
Yes.
You may not
Yes.
in any way, but now we're at this age of where everybody's offended by somebody, and so they respond emotionally.
So what they had, the first one, number one, I think there's, let's see, one, two, three, four main reasons for anger or societal anger. Stress and pressure is number one.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, the modern lifestyle that we have comes with more stresses and pressures, demands to contribute.
Right.
Um, so leads to a greater likelihood of experiencing anger related difficulties. But number two is the main thing. Number two and three is the main things I think causes a lot in today's society. Before we get into that, do you want to talk about your man there, or do you want me
Oh
to?
yeah. I made a little.
Yeah.
I don't know. This has been 20 more years ago. I made a little uh, caricature.
You want me to talk about this, and we go into the health and how it affects?
Yeah. Well, I really want. I just say there's good anger.
Yes.
There's bad anger.
Yes.
And when you get angry, it can be, your blood pressure. Of course, we know that the downside of that, but it dilates your pupil, which makes you can see better. You can look at things clearer. Your lungs begin to produce more oxygen.
Yes.
Your blood can clot. So if you get, let's just say you're angry to the point of being wounded or something like that, your blood clots faster. That's a good thing. On the other side of that, that adrenaline gets pumping. All of a sudden, your stomach begins to to contract. You don't have bowel movement anymore. Your blood pressure goes up. You're susceptible to strokes and everything. So there has to be found a balance. Now, I want to go. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay, and I want you to be perfectly honest with me.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
You're 52. I'm 78.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever seen, in your 52 years,
Uh-huh.
your daddy become so angry he loses it? He lost it.
No.
Okay.
No.
And
Seen mom close. My last whooping I got, that was probably
yeah, yeah.
I saw the devil. But anyway.
Okay, so the reason I bring it, I'm sitting here thinking about all that, and the reason I bring this up, back when I was, I don't know, 8 years old, something like that,
Yeah.
there were some older kids that bullied me. We were out in the woods, and they were going to take my pants off and shove me out of the woods. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I became so afraid and so angry that I found a tree limb. And I
Uh-huh.
think I broke one of them's arm, but I beat them, three of them. They
Yeah.
were bigger than I. And at 8 years old, I realized how dangerous anger can become.
Yes.
And I think that was the start of me basically learning how to control anger. Now, as I said, he's honest. I've never, when Warren ever says it's all good and he says it in a certain tone, I learn to get away from you, because
Yeah.
when you say it's all good, I know that you're very, very angry. And I've seen you angry. You and I have worked together. But I've
Yeah.
never seen you completely lose it.
Well, I think the only one in our family that has is my sister when I punched a hole through the door because I get, and I'm not so much now, but if I if I say that's enough, that means don't just don't bring it up right now
Right.
again. And then you keep on, and I warn you a second time, hey, that's enough. And then when it gets to the third time, after that third time I say it, and you say it again, that's when I kind of lose it. I have a three limit range, and there's only been a few people that's ever stretched that limit, and
Yeah.
I didn't go crazy, but I used to have a temper. I learned to control it,
There you go.
and but I was bad about holding a lot of things in, and that didn't cause me to like lose it. It's just that was the way I dealt with it. When I kept it in, I would I release it shouting in the truck, like on Friday when he said he gonna cry when he get in the car.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would wait till I got in the truck and yell and whatever where nobody knew. I just had to get it out. So I've always tried to get it out some way without
Right.
lashing out to
Right.
somebody
You're
else.
either going with anger. You're
Right.
either going to lash out or you're going to hold it in, be passive aggressive. I
Right.
hold it in, and I was sharing with Warren today. I can remember having psoriasis after I got into college, and I went to the doctor about it, and he told me it's because of anger and stress, which that's what anger causes, is stress and things like that. And I held out my hand like that, and I said, "Look, doc, man, I'm." He said, "Not shaking doesn't mean anything." He said it may be better if you did shake sometimes, but he says that stress, that anger is going to come out of you somewhere,
Somewhere.
somewhere. And mine, because I kept it in, and folks, I know that it's very difficult to believe that my family has never seen me lose my temper. But that psoriasis revealed that I was keeping it inside and it was expressing itself
Right.
on the outside.
Right.
So I had to learn control. And what you said is exactly what uh, my standard was in relationship to my wife. If she talked through her teeth, if she was that angry,
Uh huh.
talked through her teeth, I just kept quiet because I know that she had reached her limit.
Right.
But mine was exactly what you said. When I
Yeah.
said, if I said that's enough, and she kept, I would say, break it down, that
Is
is enough, which meant don't go beyond that. And
right.
that's why my wife and I have not had any big
Right.
fights or what we
Right.
call fights or anything. It's simply we know the boundaries. And so with anger, uh, it's an amazing thing when I didn't know the percentage on that.
Yeah.
But the reason people are so angry is because everything offends them today.
Well, and I think the reason why it goes to number two on the psychology today, technology and social media. So, back in my day, your day, um, if we had something against somebody, basically you worked it out at the Sand Hills on a Friday night,
There you
or
go.
you went to the ball fields, uh, and what was, at least I remember, and I could be wrong. And some of y'all that's local, if y'all are listening, I might have got this wrong, but this is the way I saw it. That somebody'd have some kind of something going on in the school, and basically, I mean, it was, hey, y'all can handle that at the Sand Hills, and we'd let them go at it, and then sooner or later, one of them had enough, and we just
Shake
broke it all
hands, go
down,
on.
and then everybody tried to. Yeah, it was just that was the way you dealt with things. But today, you have social media that people are getting offended. You know, growing up, and I've been thinking about this more and more in today's society, because one side of the aisle has weaponized words. When we were growing up,
Exactly.
sticks and stones may break my bones, words will never hurt me. That's why my age group, everybody talks about Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, all that. And and when were you born?
1946.
Okay, so you were like the first boomer,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
right, you're
yeah,
right at the start.
yeah.
But anyway, um, what are the so we learned that words, we were taught words don't hurt you. Don't pay attention to what somebody says about you. I mean, yeah, I think we all strive that everybody kind of like us, but the older you get, the more, you know what? I really don't care. I know who I am, how I project myself. If you don't like the way I am, I'm not going to worry about what you say about me. But yet now they've turned words, they've weaponized words, they've changed definitions, and when
Yeah,
they change definitions, it offends them now.
yeah, yeah. You just sitting there talking about that. So even if they made fun of you or made some remark about your
Yeah,
physical or whatever,
right,
okay. Um, and if you became so angry every time they did, that's more revealing of your insecurity and not knowing who you are, right?
right,
Okay.
right.
So he's talking about. I'm thinking about that. So
Yeah,
now that you said something against me that offended me, I'm so insecure that now I'm going to force you, okay,
yeah,
to build up my insecurity.
right.
I'm going to be angry at you, and now you have to enable me,
Yes,
or or what was the word I want to say? I can't think. I will in a minute. But you know, I have to. You have to build me up, and I'm angry about that.
Right.
And now I'm permitted to do that.
Right. Right.
Now society says you're the problem because you said something that offended him.
Yeah.
That's like bullying.
Yeah.
Okay. Teasing and bullying are two different things.
Yeah.
We've been teased all our life.
Yeah.
The bullies, you either fought them or somebody in those
Knocks
days,
or blocks them.
well, they would
Or
come up and take up for you
yeah.
sometime.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But now we've labeled teasing as bullying. We've been teased all our life.
Yeah.
Now I can become angry at it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so everything is pushing anger.
But and what's crazy is when you talk about bully, and I know I probably need to get Miss Lightsey on because she wrote a book, a children's book on bullying. She's a big advocate for it. But what I see in bullying, it's not only like bullying, but when you say that I have to agree with you,
Yeah.
is bullying also.
Yes.
They don't see it that way, but that is a type of bullying. You offended me. You have to do this. It's a bullying tactic, but they don't want to see it that way.
Which
But
goes
anyway,
back to what we're talking about,
yeah,
words. Okay,
words.
we change from teasing to whatever offends you
Right,
now becomes bullying.
right.
I was teased about my teeth. I was teased
Your
about being
height.
short. Yeah, yeah. And I'm still teased by my son and our
Yes.
daughter. You notice I said my son and
Yeah.
his mama's boy. Um, but the reason I don't, uh, it is in me, and I
Yeah.
think it's in everybody to explode. And the reason my family, because you don't, your mama doesn't, no one knows, not the Lord knows what I am capable of, what is in me to do to another human being.
Right.
Whether it's because I was raised in the environment I was, or whether it's the military, whatever it is, what I am capable of if I lose control through anger.
Right.
Therefore, I learned as a child through that one incident that I could absolutely ruin my life.
Right.
I can
Right.
ruin my life. You can ruin your business
Yes. Yes.
over your anger.
Well, and going back to the social media is where if I don't get the likes I want, I get angry. Or if somebody comments on something I talked about that I don't like, I get angry. I mean, it, it just says like the online platforms can provide a breeding ground for expressing and encountering anger as
Animosity or what?
yeah, distance can make it easier to vent frustration and engage in hostile exchanges. This can lead to increased exposure to anger inducing content and higher likelihood of conflict. Well, which we call the keyboard warriors that look or trolls that
Right.
go around and comment on some of your stuff and get you angry. And I know people that on social media platforms just say they like a celebrity and they see all these hateful comments toward that celebrity they like and it ruins their day. It gets them so
Yeah.
angry because somebody that doesn't know them, they're taking up for somebody that does not know them, does not care about them, some celebrity that has nothing to do with them, but they get so angry at somebody posting something about that celebrity and it ruins their day. That's where we're at in society.
Yes.
That uh, and I my age group, most of them, we don't understand that because somebody says something. Honestly, if one of y'all commented on it, I really wouldn't care. If it was something bad that y'all didn't like, if it was critique, one thing, hey, y'all need to do this,
Right.
this,
Right.
this.
Right.
But if it's just like a troll thing, I wouldn't care.
I don't like his hat. He ought to be wearing a
Yeah.
cowboy hat. He's showing
Well, I do.
disrespect to his daddy. Da da
Yeah.
da da da.
Yeah.
All right. Look, okay. So with that in mind, I just saw a recent video, and this was a young lady who was an atheist. She
Right.
became a Christian. She said the greatest joy she had
Mhm.
was for Christians to comment,
Yeah.
okay, or write an article or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
and she would troll them
Yeah.
and get them angry
Yeah.
and rob them of their peace.
Yes.
Now those Christians didn't know her from Adam's house
Yes.
cat,
Yes.
but she took joy because she knew she could trigger them,
Right.
and they leave
And,
all
and
that
that's what I'm
Christianity
saying.
behind.
I know people that social media affects them every day, gets them angry before they even step out of the house. And I do not understand that. As a grown person, there's people on my friend, just on Facebook that I don't always agree with. But the way I remedy that is I keep scrolling. I don't say nothing because that's their opinion. I'm not, because if I know if I say something that it's going to tick them off, and I'm not going to ruin a friendship over a stupid something that they said that I don't agree with.
And yet you have the power
Yes.
to scroll.
Yes.
Do you realize
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
just said?
Yeah.
That person has made a remark about you, and you have a choice and
Yeah.
the power to scroll up and just ignore
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But oh no,
that pride. What do we talk about? Pride and anger.
pride and feelings. Yeah,
Pride and feelings.
Yeah, you hurt my feelings.
You know, I'm gonna read one more, the other thing, and well, three more, but politics and social division. What they say at a family function, don't bring up politics or religion.
Yeah.
And that's with friends too. And I know when I used to throw some parties, I mean, basically the rule was if I didn't care which side of the aisle you were on, even if you were on a side that I agree with, if you brought up politics at the party, you had to leave. That was the rule of the party, because you're not going to ruin this party
Right.
because you don't agree with what somebody else believes in. And that was just one of the rules that I had. And again, that goes to social media with the politics.
Exactly.
Politics is everything's so instant right now. It's so instant. It's in your face, and that's what getting people angry. Everything's in your face. That how the government, whether right or left, does not care about the working people at all.
No.
So when you, if you're not watching the five main channels, five news channels, if you're not watching that, and you're reaching out to see other sources, and you hear this one and then you hear somebody else, and you're like, wait, now somebody's lying, and somebody, what they're fixing to do is not going to help me in my life or with my family or with it, you know what I'm saying? It just, they don't care about you, and that's what get you see it on social media, and that's what gets you angry.
And you're going to get so angry.
Yeah.
To protect them. For instance, if I say right now, if I say Trump, that triggers somebody's going to get angry.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I say Biden, it's going to
Trigger somebody.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now they'll become angry.
Yep.
And I may have said, well, Biden, and I may say something very positive.
Yeah.
That he did.
Yeah.
Or Trump did.
Yeah.
They shut me down.
Yes.
And become angry before I can get the sentence out of my mouth. They don't even know just the very fact.
Yes. Yes.
That I, could be.
And the fact that they get so angry there that I don't know where they're going. Like, just say they were fixing to leave the house and seen what you said and got so angry that it leads to something else in their job or whatever,
Right.
that it is just a trickle down if you get that angry.
And if you and look, you know yourself,
Yeah.
what your emotions are, your job, and this is a blessing for you, this shop and everything.
Right.
Could you imagine the frustration, the anger that you because of uh, somebody on the job that's done something stupid, or your subcontractors
Which
did
is
this?
which is a lot.
Okay,
But
a lot.
anyway, yeah.
Okay, so you have a family.
Right.
Now you walk in, you're still angry,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the kids and the wife have absolutely no clue,
Yeah.
but you take it out on them, and they
Right.
wonder what they did wrong.
And I will just say this before we get into what God has to say, in the Bible, some
Right.
verses there. But the one thing that I learned growing up from you counseling other people and counseling people, guys that were workaholics that would bring work home, I saw it, how men would bring their work home and take it out on their family, or be distanced from the family. And that was the one thing I told myself, that I had to, again, that sound mindset, having a sound mindset, that I wasn't at, I had a guy compliment me. We called him Red, older guy that I worked with. And he says, I've never seen a superintendent shut things completely off at 5 o'clock. And I just told him that was my mindset, that I told myself, I'm shutting everything off. And that's why, again, I always, after you told me to have some kind of hobby, have something to do, I would shut that off and do that, and I'd worry about that job when I'd wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I, so that time from 5 to whenever I woke up, that was me not thinking about the job. But you have to, again, psychology, make your mind do that.
Right.
You have to want to do that and not bring it. And I swore I'd never bring it into the household.
Right.
That was one of my things that I learned.
Well, and I have to admit this. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, as a pastor, I'm 24/7.
Right.
I can leave something at the church, then come home, then have somebody call me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I'm 24/7. Then there may be something that happens at the church, or some situation, I become angry at it. And one of the key things that I have tried to teach myself and understand, folks, what Warren and I are talking about here is not psychological, all this stuff. We're just talking about the work at the middle, no, not even the middle, but folks like us that deal with this stuff every day. But I've learned that the more you talk about it with someone or roll
Yes.
it in your mind, you still remain and keep that anger in you. And it takes me a while sometimes to get
Well,
through that anger.
well, I mean, there's some things that going on at work lately, and I have one. He might even be watching tonight, but I have one coworker that we talk almost every day, and we talk about, and some of the things I already forgot about, but when I have to talk it out with somebody, but then again at the same time, when I go to talk about it again, it gets me all fired up again.
Yes, yes.
And so I have to try to just
Discipline yourself with
yes,
that sound mind.
yeah, yeah,
The Bible says, and if you can be angry, don't sin, and don't let the sun set on your angry mood.
right,
Because the way you go to bed and sleep at night is
right.
the way you're going to get up in the
And,
morning.
and you always taught us that. I mean, if we had a conflict in the house, it was, hey, you need to resolve it before you go to bed. That was
Right,
that
right.
was and that's a good practice to have. Even if you're married, you know, you don't go to bed angry.
And even if
Yeah,
you're not married,
yeah,
okay, you don't sit there and mull that thing and start getting mad and
Right.
toss and turn going to sleep, because you're going to be the same attitude when you get up in the
Right.
morning, hit that job,
Right.
and take it out on everybody, and they don't even know what's going on.
Well, I mean that's why I discipline myself to cut everything. I literally my mind would completely shut that turn 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. I seriously forgot everything that happened that day and about that job. Um, and when I woke up the next morning, it automatically just came in my mind. Now, I mean, that takes a long time to learn to do that. But the one thing is we had when I was with one group, we did a bunch of projects together, and on Thursdays we go shoot. Um, wasn't trap or skeet. It was what's it called? One that you had the stations you go around. Anyway, it was 100 rounds, and when you pulled that first trigger, if you were angry when you went out there and you pulled that first trigger to shoot the first disc clay, you forgot everything that you were even angry about.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, that first shotgun shell go off, you forgot about everything and had a good time, and you forgot about it that day. We do it every Thursday, and everything that happened up till that point, we forgot about it if it was bad. It was a good way to get it out and not harp on it.
Okay, here's something I'm curious about,
Okay.
because I don't play golf.
Right.
Never played golf.
Okay.
I've gone with you, but
Yes.
I've never played. So what is it with them tearing up the golf club and getting angry about? What is with that? And
Well,
that happens, that happens all the time.
yeah. How many of you out there that play golf that has thrown a golf club or two or three or even broke them? Me and since this is almost like we confession, but yeah, mine's more verbal. Mine's more verbal. I never threw a club. I would get mad, but you golf is I'll explain one, you're playing against yourself.
Okay.
It's a self. You're playing against yourself, and um, I say it like that. Like that first tee off, man, you hit that thing straight, and you're like, man, I got this. And then the next freaking uh 17 holes, 16 holes, you just struggle the whole time, and you're like, man, I ain't playing ever again. I am done with this. And you get on that last hole and you hit all right shot, start off, but then you hit this brilliant shot and it all just comes together and you land up there for a one putt and you go, you know what? I got it figured out now. I'm coming back next week.
Okay. Is that why? Is that why they can throw the club? Okay. Throw it, bend it, break it.
Break it, yeah.
Hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Hundreds of
Yeah.
dollars.
Oh yeah.
And then after they finish the 18 holes, they go in the clubhouse, have a beer, and everybody, and they just fine. They talking, they ain't screaming and cussing.
Because at some point, right there near the end, they had a great shot that just drew them back in. That hey, I got it figured out now. But that's just me. That's the way it got me every time.
Well,
And
I always laugh about that, because I just, I know that you're disappointed in
right,
yourself.
right,
Okay.
right.
But I've also watched, let's just say a head gate to cattle, working cattle and everything, be a 35-cent bolt that breaks. Okay. 35, that holds up operation. And I've seen the owner or manager destroy $200 to $300 worth of equipment, beating on that sucker, cussing, beating, and everything else.
Yeah.
That cost 35 cents to do.
Yeah.
And some time down.
Yeah.
And that's an anger that is explosive, and that causes all this stress, all this kind of stuff. and then take it out on everything else.
Well, the last thing, and we'll get into the script, but it's just like fishing with bait casters. I know some of y'all listening with the bait casters, or even what me and Dan talked about last week, not tying the knot good, and you lose a $20 lure. But you go through that bait caster, and that bird nest is the biggest one you ever seen. And I've seen guys throw a whole rod and reel in the water. They were so mad, and they just threw away $400 worth of equipment over because of bird nests.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
And so that's what that's what it takes is, again, now from not being a Christian or anything, it goes back to what you say. Until you can control, and you have to
yeah,
have that mind, you have to admit first,
yes,
I got a temper problem.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
I have a very dear friend that ended up going to prison for murder
yeah,
because he lost his temper.
yeah,
And he knows now he is still, if he gets arrested for anything, he will have to go back and finish his time. Okay.
yeah.
So therefore, he told me he's had blood running out of his mouth biting that tongue because that temper.
Right.
But it goes back, if you're aware, you have to admit it first.
Yes. It's like an addiction at that point.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, addiction, you have to
yes,
admit that
you
you have
have
a
to
problem.
admit it. And if somebody says, you need to get control of that temper, that makes you mad.
Yeah.
Okay. And you need to get control of that temper. Now you're going to blame them because
Right.
you don't want to admit that you got a problem.
Right.
If you admit that you got a problem, then you're going to have to learn how to control. What
Right.
steps do I take to get control of that problem?
Right.
It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian. It's going to cost you. There are consequences.
And health,
Oh,
mental,
absolutely.
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of it.
It may not be a 35-cent boat, cost you $300 or golf clubs or anything like that, but all of a sudden you reach up there and grab that chest because you're
Yeah.
having a heart. Well, blood pressure,
Blood pressure.
stomach, all of that stuff is one of the results of anger. And so I was looking at Ephesians, and it says, do not let a single rotten word come from your mouths, but rather whatever is good for constructively meeting problems that arise, so that your words may help those who hear. Okay, so let's say you and your wife get into a disagreement or whatever. And ladies, I do want to say this. I know ladies work, this is for a whole different segment and all that. But when a man, if he's, especially if he does physical labor and he is out there all day in that hot sun and everything, he walks through that door and you start, and tell him about the kids, okay? That ain't going to work. I hate to tell you that. He's all upset about that, about his day. So that's basically what is going on now.
This comes from Jesse Simpson.
Jesse
Let's
Simpson.
see
Okay.
what let's do this. Oh, we don't need that. So let's see what Jesse. You have to compartmentalize, fix the wound before you bleed on someone who didn't cut you.
Man, that's good.
That's deep.
That's deep right there,
And you
Jesse.
can cut somebody deep.
I appreciate that,
Yeah,
Jesse.
yeah,
But here's the thing with we've been married 55 years. I know what I'm capable of, but again, my wife has never seen me lose my temper completely. Neither one of us. But if you got a problem, most of the time, if you say something that angers me, what's my response? I'm going to say something that cuts you and hurts you worse, because now you
yeah,
made me angry.
yeah.
Okay, you're angry at me over something, and now I'm going to absolutely respond to come back at you. And while we're at each other, Jesse, cutting each other and watching
Right,
ourselves bleed, meanwhile the problem is here,
right,
and we haven't even addressed the problem.
right.
We're too busy going back and forth at each other. And a lot of times we're so angry we never put ourselves and try to look through the eyes of that individual and see what got them upset that day.
Right.
It's just that you don't attack me, and now you tick me off. I'm
Yeah.
fixing to tick you off.
And what he's saying about
Compartmentalize.
yes. That to me, that's like a big difference between a man and a woman. Men do compartmentalize and hide it in sections
Yes.
inside, and then sometimes when you do that, that's when it can blow up too.
Right.
But anyway, I mean, he's right. You gotta, you know,
Yeah, you can't even at at our church, if a member says something and I really feel, and it really has offended me, I become angry. Okay. The what would the Bible refers to as the flesh, that old inner nature that I've got like that. Instead of responding as a Christian, they've now hurt me. So now I'm going to hurt them back. I'm mad at them, and they get angry at me for hurting them back. And especially if we do it in front of people. Now you're belittling me in front of people, and I'm going to hurt you as bad as I can hurt you back. My anger takes over.
yeah.
And now I don't care. I don't care if it hurts you. I don't care if it hurts anyone else.
Yeah.
The struggle that I have is knowing that, and I'm sorry, folks, this is a reality. Any Christian knows this. A lot of church folks, when they start, if they say something to the pastor in front of people, they don't care if his wife is there or not.
No.
They don't care, which then angers me.
Right.
Because
right.
You've hurt my wife's feelings.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back, unless you can take control of that. Now, as a Christian, I know I can't, but I know he can, and he does it through me. But folks, every one of us has that emotion, that thing that triggers us, and we become angry about that.
Well, and the one thing I got to sitting here thinking, one thing I learned when I was becoming a assistant superintendent, and I blew up. I blew up on this guy. I was an assistant superintendent, and I didn't know much, but I learned to ask questions a certain way to make me think like I know what I was talking about, because I'm dealing with older guys that knew their stuff, and it was in HVAC, and I blew up at him, and it was ugly, and I had to go down, walk, go down the elevator, go outside, walk around for about 30 minutes. I come back in and I realized what I did, and I went and apologized to the guy and pulled him to the side. And I said, I told him that will never happen again. And one thing I learned, and I tell, if I'm training somebody, if you got a problem with somebody in the field, you pull them aside, and you pull that foreman aside, and don't do it in front of his people.
Yes.
Same thing with the church, church
Right.
people, or wherever you're at. If you got a problem with me, pull me to the side and we can discuss it. But if you do that in front of other people, that is going to trigger an anger.
That's showing that I don't respect you.
That's right.
You're showing disrespect.
That's right.
As your superior.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Not in being a man, but
right.
As your superior on the job.
Right.
You're showing him disrespect
right.
to do that in front. Let me tell you a little story. So, some of y'all know around Lake Placid area and things like that. Johnny Barnes was kind of a mentor to me as a thing, and Cowboy when I was working cows and day working and everything, and Johnny was a man of his word. Okay.
Yep.
If Johnny said the next time I see you, I'm gonna whip you, it wouldn't matter if it was in the courthouse. If he saw you, he'd be going on to
That's
you.
right.
So anyway, back in those days, it was, I had to take care of my family and everything, and they had forgotten a paycheck. I was out there at Graham Ranch.
Yeah.
They had forgotten a paycheck, and the vice president had come out, and I said to Johnny that morning before we got started, I said, he better have my paycheck. And he said, well, what if he doesn't? I said, well, I can load my horse. And he looked right at me. And he said, you can load your horse now if that's what you want. And Barnes was the type of person, you didn't come back with your hat in hand.
No.
Okay.
No.
And say, I'm sorry or anything.
Yeah.
He figured if you made that decision, then that's the decision you ought to stick by.
That's right.
Okay. So when he said you can load your horse now, I realized right then that my anger, my temper was fixing to jeopardize the food on my family's table,
right.
my job, over and they had the paycheck.
Well, guess what? I have a Johnny Barnes story and life lessons that I learned with out there. I was how old was I?
14, I think.
No, when we were in Venus.
Oh, you're probably about 12, something.
Okay.
13,
so I was hired that summer to build fence. Okay. Barbed wire fence, quarter mile every day through crap. Anyway, so one day Johnny comes to all of us and he says, hey, next week I'm gonna give y'all a break. We're gonna work cows all week. I was like, cool. So we work cows all week, and understand, those of you that from around here and day work, y'all understand. Johnny, 4:30 in the morning, you're feeding dairy cows that Carlene had, and then you got ready. Then you went out there, you worked cows till about what, 11, 10:30, 11. Came in, ate, slept till about, took you a nap till about 3:30 ish, and then you go and you work till dark. That was how it was. Well, Friday come and there wasn't no paycheck, and I said, "Hey, where's where's the paycheck?" He said, "Well, I hired you to build fence, not work cows." Now, I'm 12 years old. I don't know how to. The anger came. It was boiling. So when you picked me up, because he would drop me off and leave me out there. He picked me up, and I said, I ain't going back to work. I didn't get paid. They said, you going back to work. So I go back to work, just ticked off all that next week, building fence, building fence. Well, then, I don't know, a couple weeks later, Johnny goes, hey, I'm going to give y'all a break next week. We're going to work cows. And I looked dead in his face. I said, I'm not. He said, why not? I said, you hired me to build fence, not work cows. He said, we working the dairy cows. You'll get paid for that. I said, well, then I'll work cows. But I learned lessons. But you talk about angry.
Yes, yes.
But that summer, I was striving to make some money to buy. Now, I'd already bought my BMX bike, but I wanted money so I could buy some things. And anyway, that you had to tell Johnny's story. I had to tell one.
Yeah.
So
well, Warren, anger and your temper,
yeah,
it affects everything in your life, whether
yes,
it's your job, your relationship to your wife, your kids, your parents, or whatever it is. If you do not learn to control your temper, your
right,
anger, you're going to pay a price. And there's an old saying: it'll make anger and a temper will make you go where you don't want to go, and do what you don't want to do, make you stay longer than you want to stay, and make you pay more than you ever want to pay.
yes,
And sometimes you can't undo
yes,
what you've done.
yes,
And until you learn that I have to admit I got a temper problem and I have to learn to get control of it,
yeah,
then it's going to cost you. And it's people on here listening right now, many of it's cost you a great deal, you know. Now, uh, as a Christian, I know that I still have that part of me in there that we call it sin because it's handling a, a, a problem that we face in a sinful manner, in a way we shouldn't. Okay,
Right.
we whether it's exploding or keeping it in us or anything like that. And as Christians, we can go to the Lord and say, okay, I agree with you. I confess my sin. And the Bible says He's faithful and just, will forgive you and cleanse you. Okay, the the problem and the reason you learn to control it is because God, we know, and because of Christ, He forgives us of that sin. He said, I'm faithful, I'm just, I will forgive you and cleanse you. That means that God forgives you, He cleanses, but it doesn't undo
What has
what
been
you
done?
did,
Yeah.
what's been done. We
Yeah.
act as if, oh, okay, I can go back and everything, He's going to undo it and
No.
everything will be fine. It has a ripple effect
Yes.
and it has to run that course.
Yeah.
And somebody didn't agree with me, but I always said sin brings its own punishment
Yes.
many
Yeah.
times,
Yes.
because what you do is ultimately is going to be revealed. And when God forgives you, uh, let's just say that your temper, you had a bad temper, it eventually destroyed your marriage. You got divorced, you ended up getting remarried and everything. Well, now I've learned to control it. Now I no longer have a temper. Well, that doesn't undo, and you can't go back
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and undo anything. Like I said, that friend of mine, it landed him in prison.
Right.
Okay, served 9 years over taking another's life.
Yeah.
And then I had a man, I can't even remember, he was 68 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I had a terrible temper, anger. He said, I was just angry all the time. And he began to cry. Now he's 68 years old, began to cry because he said that I fought so much because of my anger. And I was in a bar one night and I beat a man so bad that he died 3 days later. I beat him to death. Now his 68 still cries about
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, he's passed away now, but he cries because he can't undo that.
Yeah.
And so we need to understand, and he understood God forgave him,
Right.
but he still cannot. And this guy that took the life of his wife, okay, he told me there's never a day that he doesn't think about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many years ago that time. So what we have to do is learn to deal with our anger. And Christians have the same. We act as if we're exempt, or the world looks at us, we're supposed to be exempt from it. We're not
We're not.
exempt from things that anger us. But we have to stop and say, is this worth it? Is this the hill I choose on which to die
Yeah.
over some politician I don't know or some
Yes.
Hollywood celebrity?
Yes.
That
That
would be a
don't
sad
and
thing.
that does not know you.
Doesn't
You ain't even a twinkle in their
no,
eye,
no, no.
and people go nuts over that. And it's just a mind boggling thing that I've seen. I don't know how to express words on how people can be so consumed with stuff like that.
Well, on Facebook, when it comes time for politics,
Mm-hmm.
okay, uh, I have a policy that I decided and about my Facebook post. I have people that are both Democrat and Republicans.
Right.
Okay, I will disagree if they want to debate. I'll disagree.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a Republican and you become angry and
Mm-hmm.
attack one of my
Friends.
friends,
Uh-huh.
I will uh, uh,
Snooze you.
snooze you, or if I need to delete you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the Democrats exactly the same
Yeah.
thing. These are my friends. I'm not going to let
Right.
politics.
Right.
And I had a dear friend I grew up with and everything. The one of the elections severed her relationship. Now we're talking about my age, and so we're only talking about
Yeah.
10 years ago, something like
Yeah.
10 or 12 years ago. Severed the relationship between sisters.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And my friend has passed on. Now
Yeah.
I don't know if they resolved that, but could you imagine
No.
that you and Missy over a politician that doesn't know you,
Yeah.
that you severed a relationship or killed a relationship, and and she passed on, and you never had the chance to sit there and resolve it.
Yeah.
That would be,
Yeah.
and they don't. That politician doesn't know or care
No.
about you about
No.
nothing.
No. No.
And that squeeze shoot
Yeah.
35-cent boat doesn't
Eh,
know you from Adam's
No.
house cat.
No. So you got anything
No,
else?
I just wanted to. Of course, Proverbs talks about all this stuff, and it refers to what I talked about too. About all that we talked about. Proverbs talked about. Ecclesiastes talked about that losing that temper and all the stuff that it will continue to follow you.
Yeah, and
My
whether you're a Christian or not, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes
Ecclesiastes.
is a roadmap on how to live a good life.
How to live now doesn't mean you're going to be a Christian, but it tells you how to live a
Live
good
a
life,
good
whether you're a
life.
Christian or not a Christian.
Right.
It will tell you how to live a good life. But my advice is to first admit that you got a temper problem.
Yeah.
The second is that when you do lose your temper, you have to decide right then, is this going to be worth? Is
Yeah.
what I say to you going to be so hurtful that I can't call it back? Because sometimes those sticks and stones
Yeah.
that we throw, we can't call back.
No.
You can say, "Oh,
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it."
My bad.
Oh,
My
yeah,
bad.
that don't work.
No.
But you have to choose it, and if you have a temper, my suggestion to you, you better learn to deal with it because it's going to cost you in the long run. It could cost you your job, your relationship, just on and on and on. Uh,
I will say before we leave,
yeah,
besides Jesse, uh, David said, I need to come through and talk with your dad. And Clayton, because I could talk about this. Clayton says bad drivers.
oh,
And I know if my sister's
oh, Lord, have
listening
mercy.
and you just heard that one, yeah, me and my sister probably pick up a bad habit from our granddad as far as
Yeah.
road rage, but we keep it in the vehicle. But that's the way I get it out, and I don't hold it in. I just you don't want to have a microphone in my truck. But Dad's ridden with me. I ain't blown up like I do by myself with him. But yeah,
Here's the, and I told your mama, this is an amazing thing to me. Your granddaddy,
oh yeah,
Carol's daddy. Everybody on the road was a stupid idiot,
yeah,
and I think you inherited that from him.
yeah,
But I did tell your mom. I said, you know what? I can't believe Warren drives as slow as he drives,
uh huh,
and you're in control of the truck,
uh huh.
but you ain't in control of that mouth sometimes.
Oh no,
On everybody, I mean, we went to Tennessee, and
yeah.
good
Well,
Lord, it's like riding with his
I will just
granddad.
say this, and we'll end with this: that people need to learn to know what an on ramp is again. I'm just gonna say that is one of my pet peeves. But anyway, um, we're gonna end. It's a little over, but we appreciate you listening to us shoot the crap. And anyway, if you got something you want us to talk about, discuss, please. And I keep forgetting to put it in the description. Send us an email at theboatramp24 at gmail.com, or message us on Facebook, um, or Instagram or X. I have all that listed except for the uh, email. Anyway, just message it if there's something specific. Hey, y'all need to talk about this. Please let us know. We don't mind
No,
coming up
no.
with something to talk about, but it'd be nice to hear from somebody else what y'all want us to discuss. So anyway, hope y'all enjoyed.
Yep.
Y'all have a good start of the weekend. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday. Thanks for
Take
stopping
care.
by.